First of all, I'll show you on Gorgias, right? That essentially, if you're on Gorgias, and let me zoom out a little bit. If you go to settings here, you'll essentially end up on a tab like this, and you'll see under automations, which we're obviously very interested in, you have macros, rules, self-service, and ticket assignment. The most important two are the first two, macros and rules. If you go under rules, you can actually see all the rules that we have for some of our stores, right? So there's a bunch of rules, right? And you kind of just built them. Like the great thing is that if once you have them in place, right, they just do all the work for you, right? And you're able to leverage the tech, and you don't actually need to pay an agent for it because obviously all the rules, it's up to you to create as many as you need under your current plan. It's not like it costs more to create more rules. So obviously that way you can be extremely efficient, right, and have great rules. Now, if you press on actually create rule, they even have a bunch of templates for you, right? And again, rules can really be used for anything, pretty much, right? That's repetitive and that's common, right? So you can literally close tickets that are not important, right? For example, again, sometimes you even send out an email campaign and you just get those automatic out of office replies, right? So obviously you can just recognize out of office replies and then just close them because obviously there's not much for you to then reply to that, right? All the way to you can close Instagram story mentions, you can tab subscription changes as urgent, tag requests by shipping status, tag tickets by business hours, identify VIP customers, right? Send tracking information, auto close spam emails. So those are just some examples, right? And Gorgias actually has a pretty good library of, okay, wow, my video is very big here. Let's see if I can, yeah. So I actually also have this on a slide. It's just you don't see it too well here. So let me anyway. So Gorgias also has best practices website, and we use a lot of the rules here. So I think this is a very classic one to just show you a couple of examples. So auto reply when the tracking number is not available, right? I mean, this is very classic. Your tracking number is not yet available, but the customer is very eager and sends you a ticket asking for a tracking number, right? And it's a very repetitive task that if you reached any scale with a Shopify store, pretty much any e-commerce store, you'll know this is a common issue, very kind of standard classic. So how is the most automated, efficient way to go about solving this? And here's the rule, right? So when ticket created, then if, right? So it's a lot of if and functions, right? Just based on everything all the information you have from the ticket, from the customer. And again, that all being integrated with Shopify. And again, any historical data that you have on the customer because they've purchased before, you can also use that, right? So if message intents, and the way Gorgias work is that it first tags essentially each message with an intent, right? And that's another rule you have to first create, that the intent of shipping and status, right, is something that gets created if, for example, the subject line says something about no tracking, right? Or where's my tracking, right? You can specifically say that, create this intent if certain words in the subject line or in the body or anywhere else that essentially where this algorithm can read the text. Anyway, so let's just assume you have this intent set up. So if message intents contains one of shipping status, and message intents does not contain any of discount request, exchange request, right? So those are actually, then you always need to put in those negative keywords to make sure that you don't confuse a ticket with the wrong ticket, right? So it might, they might mention tracking, right? But you want to make sure that just because there's the word tracking number or where's my tracking number, right? You don't confuse it for still a discount request or exchange request or some sort of feedback or anything else, right? Anyway, then, so assuming we can identify the ticket for what it is, right? So the algorithm based on this rule, and again, you can use those templates, right, and play around with it. The rule essentially, it recognizes what you're trying to do, right? So what the ticket is about, right? And then you get to decide what to do, right? So then, if date of last order is less than 5 days and the tracking number is empty, right? So literally, it can pull the tracking number from your order page, and customer order count is greater or equal to 1. Ticket status is opened, ticket from agent was false, then reply to customer. And those are just the basic things of how Gorgias works. So the ticket needs to be open for you to reply, right? If it's already closed, then it means that the agent already dealt with it. And then you can literally choose a specific agent. So there's a bunch of small things you can play around with. I'm not going to spend too much time on that in the video. This is really something that you'll learn about intuitively. But then you essentially reply to the customer, hi, and then first name of the customer, which again automatically gets pulled from the order page. thanks so much for reaching out, blah, 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 right? And then status URL of last order, and there you go, right? And then it gets automatically sent to the customer. And again, you have a bunch of examples like this. And if I zoom out, you can see that, for example, internal node auto reply, out of office rule for out of offices. Let's see, what else do they have? They kind of changed this recently. I remember they had more. But anyway, going back to my presentation, I added a few other ones. Damaged item rule, also very classic, right? So here you can see when ticket is created and blah, 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 contains one of order damage, so then the intent, right? Then you also write the message. Essentially, you can recognize that the customer is talking about a damaged item, which again, you can hopefully you get the point, right? That you can identify those things, because if someone's talking about their item being damaged, and somewhere in the email, they're going to use words like broken or damaged, so please refund, blah, 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 right? So you just have those snippets of words that you can give the algorithm, and again, and it already does the templates for most of the common rules, and then you can automate that away. Auto close rules. Those are also very helpful. Again, just imagine the amount of spam, and generally just, again, like my example with out of office, right? Not necessarily spam, but just a lot of emails that you might be getting. You might also be getting emails, and it's also very annoying and classic for Shopify stores that you have all those like guys offering you SEO services and all this stuff, which you just don't want to deal with. So you can just auto close those emails as well, right? So if someone mentions here, join this SEO program, then you can just close the ticket, and you don't have to deal with that. So hopefully that was clear. And again, I can't go into like every single rule that we have, but the point is that you obviously create the own rules for your own store based on what's customizable to your product, and specifically to also what you want to say, right? But like literally, we have so many rules, and not all of them are on, but we have them. And then if we want to turn them on, and again, we have rules for intents. So again, replacement, tracking, refund, right? So we essentially recognize if someone wants a refund, if someone wants a replacement, if someone wants to track their item, again, auto reply shipping status. So, I mean, I can go through all of them, but I think that's not the point. Hopefully you get the point that you can use those rules with Gorgias. You can create them. You can use the templates to essentially automate everything that you can think about. And I would, again, for inspiration, also go through the Gorgias best practices. I mean, they have like a pretty decent rule library, right, where they just go through like a bunch of rules. And again, and them not being the only ones is also something that I think a lot of other CRM tools have. But again, the integration with all the order information here is quite neat. So you can pull on this information for the rules. Okay, then we have the macros. Again, macros are quite similar in the sense that, let's see. So I'll need to blur out some stuff here, but order status null ship still in the processing window, right? So you also add tags, right? And by the way, that also works with the intent, right? So that's actually an important point to mention, right? It's really helpful to always add a tag. So again, every single order that, like, for example, is about a refund or about damaged items or about tracking, whatever the topic might be, tag it with the name of that essentially title. And that way you're also able to track how your tags perform over time, right? Are you getting more complaints about refunds, or you're getting less complaints about refunds, right? And then you can track that over time. That's extremely valuable. We do that from week to week, and now actually bi-weekly, where we can just track, okay, are people complaining about certain things? What are they complaining about? Is there, it's actually your first kind of check that everything's going well with actually everything else of your store, your logistics, your marketing, because if something goes off and you might not notice it, your customers will probably notice it sometimes even before you, and they might start complaining about it. And you need to be really sensitive to actually receiving that information, right? And then you're able to actually react to it extremely fast, right? And that way, and the best way to do it, in my experience, is to tag every single order that you get, right? And then you can essentially track that also over time. And again, you can plot all those things on just like time charts and see. But anyway, with the macro, again, those are all the macros. If an agent is answering a ticket, and they essentially see the ticket is about order status, right? Then they just literally they have like a drop down, and they're just like, okay, send them this macro, right? And then the email will automatically fill in. It'll be like, hello, and then name of the first customer. Thank you for reaching out. Your order number, blah, blah, blah. The processing before an order ship is 3 to 5 days, excluding weekends, just as an example here, right? And then they will send off this email to the customer. And again, here we also have quite a few different macros, which we're using quite regularly. It's definitely very powerful. So to maybe just summarize to where we got now, because it's becoming a bit of a longer video, but I want to touch a lot of ground here in one video as much as I can, is that you can literally automate already up to 80-90% of all the tickets you get by using macros, by using rules, by making sure everything's integrated well with whatever CRM software you're using, right? And just being very systematic in terms of identifying, okay, those are the most common ticket issues that I'm receiving, identifying them, tagging them correctly, tracking them correctly, obviously then solving them if there's obviously an underlying problem, like your shipping is too slow and people only complain about shipping. Also happened to us until we fixed it, right? We, for example, a different video talk about switching to a 3PL, which, for example, completely solved all of our shipping inquiries, or like 95% of them, right? So then that was actually completely solved, right? But to understand that this was a problem to begin with, we actually had to first identify it, and those are the tools that allow you to identify it. And the great thing, you can do this even if you're just starting off with Shopify, right? If you're making your first sales, again, you don't need to go like all crazy and create a bunch of rules, but you can start creating the first rules, and it's just going to take, time and money. It's going to give you like the time and money back, right? That you don't need to spend yourself on this. Hey, before you bounce, check out some of the Shopify apps that we have built for our own stores, which might be useful for your stores. So we're very excited to hear your feedback, and check it out in the link below.